Hello, happy Tuesday. Welcome into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jabara here with Jared Smith. Lots to break down. First of all, boring football game last night. Pretty boring.
Yeah, especially if you had the Browns like we did.
Yeah.
I would say more maddening, tilting, nauseating would be some of the
Keep
adjectives I
bringing
might
on the
use.
adjectives. Yeah.
Baker Mayfield, I hope he's hurt. And I hope he's hurt to the point where it's affecting his vision because there is no reasonable explanation for some of the decisions that he made last night. I tweeted out a couple of the wide shots of some of the throws that he made and who was open when he made the throws. And I have no explanation for again some of the reads, the progressions. He was awful. The Browns were motivated to win that game. The defense played well. That late touchdown was very fluky. That killed all the Browns teaser numbers. But I don't think the motivation angle played any factor at all in that game last night. The Pittsburgh Steelers won that game because Baker Mayfield was literally inept to make decisions and to throw the ball, and the Browns decided that they didn't want to run the ball. So I don't really have any other explanation other than that. Congratulations. It was a nice moment for Big Ben. It really was. So
Yeah.
That was the positive last night, I would say.
It was special for Big Ben and good for him to be able to get his last win at Heinz Field in front of a home crowd. That's definitely a game that he'll remember forever. He won't remember Baker's sucky play. He'll remember him winning in front of
Big Ben wasn't great either, to be perfectly honest with you. It was one of the weirdest. The YPA numbers were awful, awful yards per attempt. Some of the worst I've ever seen.
Great all season, so it's fine. It's crazy. We're moving on now to week 18, the last week of regular season play.
Wow.
I can't believe we're already here. But it is Tuesday. We got a lot to talk about. We're breaking down a lot of different sports. NBA Morning Radar, 5 games on the slate tonight. We go through some of the line movements, who we're expecting from the NBA slate tonight. We have one more bowl game, Jared, before the national championship game on the 10th, which is next
call it a bowl game.
It's a bowl game, right?
It's like an exhibition. It's like
whatever. LSU taking on Kansas State in the Texas Bowl. Gonna be exciting. Possibly.
This is the strangest bowl game I think of the entire season. We'll get into why, but it's a weird situation for LSU. It's
a weird situation.
Very weird.
Jim Root. We have Jim Root coming back on the show. We love having him joining us to talk a little college basketball. There's quite a few games tonight. Last night didn't go so well for me. I had Purdue laying 12.5. So.
Oh, Lauren.
I know you hate.
There were a couple whiskey buddies. Tim Murray was all over whiskey last night too. I'm sure Jim probably will give you a scolding for that pick too. I'm telling you, the dogs.
I thought Purdue was going to roll in that game, and usually I go for the underdogs. Why did I go away from my I don't know. It was a weird Monday. I got all stressed out. I choked. Didn't know what to do with my hands, and I clicked the button.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay, we're moving on.
We'll do better tonight. I got a good college basketball pick for you later that I know Jim really likes too, because I watched one of his segments yesterday. I know he's really excited about this game.
And we have quite a few NHL games on the slate tonight too. Yeah. So we're going to break down NHL. I have 3 different hockey bets for tonight. And then we can't end without our best bets of the day and the Pickswise 3-star play of the day. So without further ado, my friend, let's get into it and let's bet it. NBA Morning Radar. 5 games on the slate tonight. Have you seen any movement for any of these games so far?
Yeah, there's been a little bit. Again, at this stage of the morning, it's tough. The Suns went from 7 to 9. They're in New Orleans to take on the Pelicans. So at this stage of the season, again, we're still kind of figuring out the NBA, especially because of all the COVID situations that are going on. I know, Lauren, you've seen that front and center. Yeah. But the totals, I think in my eyes, NBA totals, I have a slightly more grasp on than I do sides, because the sides are so heavily influenced by player movements, whereas the totals, a little bit more scheme and coaching. Obviously, the players matter. Better players score more, or better defenders will defend better. But a lot of times, if a team is playing actually with less of their star players and the total drops, but they still run a very fast tempo and a very aggressive style. I mean, they're still professional basketball players. They can put the ball in the hoop. So the totals, to me, offer a little bit more value. And I'll give you the one on the Pelicans, 6-1 of the over in their last 7 games. And that total has gone up from 218.5 to 223 in New Orleans tonight. So we've seen a little movement towards the Suns, and we're seeing a strong movement towards the over in that game between the Suns and the Pelicans. So that's one that certainly stood out to me this morning. I'll mention this. Overs went 30 and 19 last week. We're starting to see an increase in the total points and also fouls. Fouls has such an impact on the totals. So keep an eye on the foul situation. If a team is coming off of a heavy foul game, maybe they adjust. But to me, the fouling and also obviously the pace are the two things I look at the most when I'm looking at totals. But the Pelicans certainly steamy towards the over tonight down there in New Orleans.
I want to ask about Kyrie Irving because he's set to make his season debut tomorrow, Wednesday. How do you think this will shake up or affect the Nets' future markets, having him now there for a majority of the away games?
It's a good question. Well, it's tough because it's only half the year, because it's the away games.
Half the year and then half the games.
I'll be honest. I don't know what that's going to be like. I have not been a big Kyrie fan over the years. I tend to think he has more of a negative impact on the team most nights than positive. I could be wrong. I don't follow the Nets as closely as I follow my team, which is the Knicks here in New York City. But from my experience, if Kyrie is not playing at his peak level, which he could certainly be. I mean, he could be fresh. He can come in and play really well, especially on the road when, sometimes it's a little harder to play at your best when you're on the road, especially if the travel's tough. But, man, I don't see him having a huge impact early on, but I've been wrong before. So we'll see. I would say that's a wait-and-see, patient approach if you're going to jump in on Kyrie. Probably a very volatile situation because I'm assuming the number's going to move in favor of Brooklyn, and it'll be a less valuable bet to take the Nets if Kyrie's playing. So it might be a wait and see how Kyrie looks and really how he's going between the ears. With Kyrie, it's more mental than physical. The physical tools are off the charts, but it's about the mental game.
It's going to be interesting to see how they kind of all mesh back together because that chemistry does take a little while to, gel back together after not playing together for a while now at this point. When you look at the slate tonight, 5 games, are you on any of them tonight?
No, nothing locked in. I'll tell you the Pacers and the Knicks. I've seen that total drop significantly from 209.5 to 206.5. Knicks 4-1 of the under in their last 5. And I'll say this too, they're actually pretty decent as a favorite. The Knicks haven't had a great year win-loss record-wise, but they're 13-6 against the number as a favorite. So when they're supposed to win, they do win, and they are favored again tonight. Indiana, of course, missing a ton of players. Kings and Lakers, if you like points, 2 high-scoring teams in the league. The Kings average total 222.5. The Lakers at 223. The Lakers also, we talked about this with Scal last week. They lead the league in pace. And, Scal doesn't really necessarily think that's a good number for the offense because sometimes those shots that come early aren't the best quality shots. But they do take fast possessions. They don't really take a whole lot of time before they jack up a shot. And the Kings have been a very high-scoring team this year. I saw a little bit of a tick up in that total from 228.5 to 229. That game is at, I'm not calling it the Crypto Center. I'm still calling it the Staples Center.
It's so weird that it's now Crypto.com Arena. It
really is.
Weird. It's weird.
Spurs and Raptors. That total's ticked up as well, 222.5 to 225.5. Those teams combined 40 and 27 in the over this year. That's around 60%. And if you're hitting at 60% in the betting world, that is a very profitable trend. So, again, the totals to me is where I see value in the NBA most nights. You'll see most of my picks when I do really dive into the NBA will revolve around a lot of totals. I'll pick my spots with sides, but we're certainly seeing a lot of movement. There's only 5 games tonight, but I would say out of those 5, we're seeing 3 or 4 of them with some steam to the over or under. So keep an eye on those totals because they certainly can be profitable, and usually the steam tells the story pretty well.
Yeah, the Knicks Pacers game was one that I was actually leaning towards. I haven't bet it yet, but I kind of like the Knicks laying 1.5 points. The Pacers can't be trusted on the road. They only have 3 road wins the entire season, and nothing. I just feel like bad things tend to happen whenever they play away from their home building. Nothing is. I don't know. I just the Pacers have a weakened backcourt right now. They're missing a ton of players. The guards are dropping left and right. And I just think that sets up RJ Barrett, Alec Burks really nicely to have a big game in this matchup. It's one of those things where I just think the Pacers are struggling right now, missing a lot of players, not good away from their own arena. They're averaging 16.3 turnovers per game. That ain't good. That's a lot of possible takeaways for the Knicks. I'm rolling with New York in this one at home at MSG in front of a home crowd. I'm leaning. I haven't bet it yet, but that is my strong lean for today on NBA.
Strong lean.
Yeah.
That's kind of a contradiction.
Strong lean? It's like more than just like this. It's
yeah,
like
it's
like this. You know what I mean?
If you're strongly leaning in that direction, you should just bet it.
Okay. Maybe I'll bet it when the show's done. Okay, let's take it to the Texas Bowl because last bowl game before the national championship game, LSU taking on Kansas State. Spread is 4.5 in this one. Kansas State laying the points. Why do you think this game is weird? You were talking about
this game earlier. Is so weird. All right, you ready for a story here?
I'm ready for the story. I don't know if I'm ready for a story, to be honest with you.
LSU has 39 scholarship players playing in this game. Usually there's 85. I think there might be more than that for some teams, but it's like half of their team is gone, and none of those scholarship players are quarterbacks. But that being said, to me, LSU's playing with house money. K-State's going to be motivated. They're facing an SEC team. Anytime a team from a Big 12 or another conference is facing an SEC team, they are going to be motivated. So in the quarterback world for LSU, you had Max Johnson. He transferred to A&M. Miles Brennan, he's returning next year for LSU, but he's not playing in this game. And then you have – this is where the story gets really weird. The freshman quarterback, who was their third string, Garrett Nussmeier, he actually applied for a waiver to the NCAA because if he plays in this game – he's played in 4 games this year. If he plays in this game, it'll be his 5th, and then he burns his redshirt year. That waiver got denied. He's not playing in the game. So they don't want to obviously burn a really talented freshman redshirt year off of a bowl game. So they decided, all right, he's not going to play. LSU has got a couple of walk-ons and a wide receiver who are going to switch off and play quarterback tonight. We really don't know who's going to be playing quarterback for LSU, which I would say that's advantage LSU because K-State can't defend it. The wide receiver, Jontre Kirkland, is like a Louisiana high school legend. He won a state title. He has a career of like 7,500 passing yards, 3,000 rushing yards. So he has experience at quarterback, a little different at the collegiate level. I would imagine it's going to be a lot of wildcat and, weird trick plays and gadget plays. It's like, I don't know if you watched Ted Lasso the first season. It's like the chaos hammer. They're going to drop the chaos hammer. All these crazy plays. To me, that's what the game plan is going to be like for LSU. Now, we know about the new LSU head coach, Brian Kelly. I know you're very familiar with that situation.
Yeah, but he's not coaching in this game. It's O-line coach Brad Davis. Yeah.
But Brian Kelly retained Brad Davis on his staff. So there are some Brian Kelly.
You think they're having some Zoom calls talking a little bit about schemes,
synergy
before this game?
We'll call it synergy. Okay. And I could see there being some positive emotions for this offensive line coach because he's going to be staying on with the new staff. And I think that's actually a positive for LSU. Running back wise, they're down their 2 scholarship running backs. That's not good. Wide receiver wise, they're actually okay. Most of their starting wide receivers are actually in this game. Their offensive line, the starters are there for LSU, but there's no depth. And for K-State, they're going to be getting back Skylar Thompson, their star quarterback, which is big too. I'll be honest, I really don't have a play for this game, but
everything that you just said, Kansas State laying the points in this one. I feel like there's no other play. Like you can't bet on LSU maybe to be able to cover the spread in this one. I don't know.
I think the ceiling for LSU is higher than 7.5, getting 7.5, but the floor is lower because they really could be awful offensively. I think they're going to be fine defensively. They're missing a lot of players, but they still have really good backups. But offensively, if they are totally out of whack, they might get shut out in this game. You just don't know. They might not score. But the ceiling is high because, again, Kansas State's not preparing. They don't know what to prepare for. Kansas State has no idea what's going to be happening on offense for LSU. No tape, nothing.
No film, no nothing.
Nothing.
Are you staying away from this one?
I'm tempted to take 7.5 with LSU. I really am. Because, again, I think it's more of a volatility thing where – again, the ceiling is very high for LSU. This wide receiver, Jontre Kirkland, can come out and do what he did in high school and run all over the field, and Kansas State can't stop it because they have no idea where it's coming, left, right, center.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I'm going to probably bet LSU small because it's a bowl game Tuesday night. I have nothing else to do.
And it's the last bowl game technically before the national game. We don't have bowl games.
I'm going to hold my nose.
5 days. What are we going to do? What
No idea. You got a great number though with K-State. I'd be much feel better about your position than
yeah,
where it's
7.5 is a lot now.
Yeah,
7.5 is a lot now. Yeah, I locked it in at 4.5, and I feel really good about that. That was yesterday. That was literally yesterday.
It's crazy.
It's crazy how much it moved over the last 24 hours. Okay, from college football, let's take it to college basketball. Bring in our friend Jim Root, college basketball analyst of the 3-Man Weave podcast and the Field of 68 podcast, 3manweave.com, sorry, and the Field of 68 podcast. Jim, how the heck are you doing?
I'm wonderful. We're getting into conference play. Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy New Year to you guys as well.
Happy New Year.
I've been listening the last couple of minutes, and I had no idea LSU was that ravaged. I kind of want to watch that game now, just out of like morbid curiosity.
I'm telling you, LSU, they're gonna make a lot of people look really smart or really dumb tonight.
Seriously, though. Seriously. Okay, getting in college basketball. Yesterday, I absolutely crapped the bed because I bet Purdue laying the points, and
give her a little bit of a scolding.
So I need
She's
you
a
to
dog
tell
player
me
too.
why I made the dumbest decision ever on that game, please.
I won't do that to you. I won't go that
Thank
far.
you.
I mean, Purdue's, they've been like a top 5 team for the year, but they've struggled lately. Like since the start of December, they haven't been as good. Like November, they were thoroughly dominant, but their defense has some issues now. And Jared, you were kind of saying it, but these big conference road dogs have been pretty solid, especially at the start of the league play, because it's that new season for them. They don't. They're not going to go away. Like if they get down 10, they're not going to just collapse and lose by 20. They're usually going to have that juice in them to make another run. Wisconsin clearly did that yesterday after Purdue went up, I think 8 or so in the second half. So yeah, the Badgers, they grind it out, and they have an All-American candidate in Johnny Davis. He was incredible.
Yeah, who were you on in that game last night?
I was actually not on it, which is shocking.
Wow.
Usually that's about 10% of games that I'm able to just watch out of for pleasure. But that one I sat out.
Who watches games without having bets on them? That's not a
sickos.
Thing, right?
Those are the sickos.
The sickos. Yeah,
that was so 2019. Come on now. So 2019. You look at, the SEC right now. Which team do you think, now that we're, a few games into the season, or a few months into the season, a few months left before March Madness, which SEC team can you see making the biggest splash in the tournament? Because Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, all playing well this year.
Yeah, that's probably like the deepest league in terms of maybe even just like the parity at the top. I think there's probably 6 teams that can win the conference. I think maybe the one I would go for right now is Auburn. They've been terrific, and they just got Alan Flanagan back. They're kind of jack of all trades, Swiss Army knife wing. Walker Kessler's been a revelation coming over from North Carolina. I think he has more blocks than the entire North Carolina team, or he did at one point. So a nice transfer to add there. But Kentucky's been playing like out of their minds since they lost to Notre Dame. So I think those two have separated themselves just by a little bit. But I'd probably lean towards Auburn. I think they probably have a little bit better value at a lot of the betting shops right now.
Fun game tonight in Blacksburg between NC State and Virginia Tech. I'll be honest, when I looked at this game, I didn't really like what I saw with NC State. They've lost 5 in a row. What are you seeing tonight between these two?
This is a little bit of that road dog in conference that I mentioned. NC State, like you said, has lost a few in a row. They need this. Their backs are against the wall. They can kind of take advantage of Virginia Tech's lack of athleticism on the perimeter. That's NC State's whole thing is slash. We've got guards that can slash, get to the rim. That's Darian Sebron's game. So I think he has a big one. And Virginia Tech's coming off a COVID pause, so we don't know exactly who's going to be in the lineup. There's always that, the hope that since they haven't played in a while, they'll be missing a starter or two. So that's just an added advantage. I like that. Plus 10, plus 9.5, I think is where it's at now.
Yeah. When you look at some of the other games for tonight, I know Air Force is taking on Colorado State. You're in on that one?
Yeah, I guilted you guys into talking about this. Probably.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm on the dog again. Air Force turns every game into just a crawl. And again, this is a Colorado State team that hasn't played in almost a month. They're much better, but laying 20 off that pause against a team that tries to slow games down. I like Air Force as a scrappy underdog. They play kind of a weird zone that teams that haven't seen it in a while are not totally familiar with. Air Force was missing 2 starters last game, but I think they'll be back since they haven't played in a while. They should be fine off of their little COVID break. So I like Air Force there catching the points.
I posed this to Jared before too with football. Can you fade a service academy? I just feel like you can't. Like
You always
it's
can,
always
you can
hard for
fade
me to
anybody. It's all about the
what?
spot. It's all about the spot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but it's guilt. It's in your mind.
but
You're
it's
thinking
like
like,
morally,
man,
like you can't do it.
It's,
You just
Yeah.
can't.
it's not you're not fading America. You're just fading a
I
basketball
feel
game.
like I am. I
it's the
feel like I
troops,
am.
man. It's
It
I call them the air
is.
troops, the ground troops, the sea troops. That's how I define them. And
I like it.
we're going with the air troops tonight.
Fair enough. So this is a game that only you would be on, and I'm going to take a guess based
Yeah.
off of the line movement. Lipscomb
Yes.
goes from -3.5 to now -7. I'm going to take a guess that you're on Lipscomb tonight.
Yeah.
You're
You
always on
nailed
the
it.
sharp side, Jim.
I'm very bummed because it has climbed quite a bit. I think it
It
was
has.
3.5 when I sent it last night to you
Wow.
guys. I was very interested, and this is an entirely like injury lineup related news. Lipscomb's star of stars, Asan Asajula, has been out for a while, and they were terrible without him. I think they covered one game, and it was by a half point on the closing line. Did not cover most of the spreads on that one. But with him back, they're a much different team. Start a conference play for them too. A little bit of a restart. With him in the lineup, I mean, he's like arguably the best player in the league. So that just totally changes the look for them. I maybe still play it for like a peanut or a half unit at that -7 price, but that's getting a little rich for my blood. But clearly the market knows what's up and has sniffed that one out.
Yeah, the
You were
market
ahead of the
tends to
game.
sniff those out.
Yeah,
It's been a few
unfortunately.
weeks since we've talked to you. So, in terms of the futures market, who do you see at this point in time, now fourth day into 2022, having the most value for winning the national championship this season?
I think it is those SEC teams we discussed earlier. A lot of the elite of the elites have been taking money, like your Kansas, your Purdue, your Dukes, even Arizona, my former darling, has gotten all the way up to like 20 to 1 or less.
Yeah.
But Kentucky and Auburn are still sitting outside 20 to 1 at a lot of places. I think Auburn is like 40 to 1 in some spots. And it's a top 10 team in Ken Palm's, a top 10 team in the Nets, top 10 team at Bart Torvik. Like wherever you look in terms of predictive rankings, they're way, way up there. And that's why I think it's worth a shot with them. If they are a top 10 team, they go get a number 2 seed, you're going to feel pretty good about having 40 to 1. So I think the Tigers and possibly Kentucky are where you want to look there.
Stinky line of the day. I know you were talking about this last night with Tim Murray. Marquette's now favored at home tonight against Providence. Wild stuff. Providence is one of the best teams in the Big East, 13-1. Marquette's been awful, lost a ton of games in a row. But the market tends to sniff these out, right, Jim?
That's
Marquette
right. Yeah.
at home tonight. That's the play.
This is proof to the people. There's clip of me talking about them as a +2.5 dog last night, and now they're -1. So
okay,
I'm not just lying when I say I beat the market here. Home dog chalk has been pretty solid.
Yeah,
hasn't covered every game, but this is a great spot for them Providence has been playing out of their minds, and basically every game there's been a guy out for Providence's opponent, whether it was the Wisconsin win with no Johnny Davis, the Seton Hall win, they were missing their 2 best bigs. So you still have to win the games, and the Friars have done that. So credit to them, hat tip. But I think this is where they run into some trouble. Marquette just kind of desperate, can't go 0-4 in the Big East, and you're playing the team that 3-0 and a second straight road game in the Midwest, way away from home. I think it's a pretty great spot for Marquette, and clearly the market has agreed. So hopefully the Golden Eagles get it done.
Anytime you see the flip like that in a game where the records are that big of a difference, it's like the red flag goes off immediately because the public is not betting these college basketball. That is incredible sharp money flipping that market overnight. So that's a good find.
You talked about Kentucky in the SEC. They're taking on LSU tonight. I was leaning Kentucky in the points. How do you feel about this game?
Yeah, leaning that way. I'm kind of staying away. The movement in this one this morning has been nuts. Like I was just looking at it before I hopped on the show, and it was like LSU -1, and it got all the way up to 4. It's been bet back down to 2 or 3 now. Wow. So clearly split opinions in the market on this one. I think the spot favors LSU. They're 0-1 in conference. They're back home. Kentucky's 1-0, riding high. But I kind of buy this surge that Kentucky's on. The preseason, I thought they were a top 5, top 6 team. They struggled a little bit out of the gates, but clearly the veterans are coming together. They've got an All-American in the front court. Kellen Grady shooting 50% from 3. So I'm split on this one. I think if I had to take anything here, it'd be the over. I think we're going to get an up and down game, and the LSU defense it's great, but at some point it's going to give up some points.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and I saw some of the stats on it. LSU does most of their damage right on the offensive glass, but Kentucky, I think they rank among one of the best teams in the nation right now in rebounding.
Yeah,
So
they got Big Oscar.
Big O, baby.
Yep.
Yeah, and you also look like the Wildcats are kind of battle tested too. They had non-conference games against Duke, North Carolina, Notre Dame. So that's kind of why I was leaning, but maybe I'll take a look at the total in this game.
Yeah. Total's gone up. I'm seeing it 140 now, 143. Open 140 now, up 3 points. So
might have been me, Jared. Might have been me.
Sharp Jim over here.
It's all you.
Yes. Sharp cheddar Jim.
Sharp cheddar Jim. Jim, before we let you go, just things to look out for now over the next couple of weeks before we have you back on. Surprises that you could see happening, upsets. What are some of the things that you would like viewers to focus on?
I think the big thing I did mention already is that those road dogs and some of the teams that were just poor in non-conference play. Keep an eye on them. I think we're going to get a lot feistier efforts from them. The best example so far is William and Mary. They were 0-for against the spread in non-conference, and then they won their first 2 games outright as like a double-digit dog in CAA play. So
the tribe.
That's just the prime example of it's a new season. We've hit the restart button. Yeah. Maybe we're not terrible anymore. Yeah. So that's one to keep out.
It's such a strange college basketball season, not only because of the COVID, but in general, it's like there's 3 separate seasons. It's like the first few weeks, everyone's feeling that out. And then you get that, the tournament time with the Christmas and the Thanksgiving tournaments. And then the third season is conference season when teams really do shift it in the high gear. So you're right. It's like you have to look at these teams completely differently now that we've entered conference play.
Yeah, I often end up reverting closer to preseason expectations, and it pays sometimes, other times not. But I think it does help to kind of reframe the teams as you enter league play.
Jim, we really appreciate you coming on. Jim Root, college basketball analyst for 3manweave.com and the Field of 68 podcast. Happy New Year, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it, Lauren and Jared.
Great stuff.
Thank you. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Sharp cheddar Jim.
Sharp cheddar Jim. I will say, I consider myself a cheese connoisseur.
Yeah, you do. Prince Chedward, right? The Cheez-It Bowl baby. King.
Yep.
Or Prince, I guess.
Prince Chedward. But I will say I have pre-sliced sharp cheddar cheese and the sprinkled sharp cheddar cheese in my refrigerator right now. Proudly.
Do you just is it just like grab the cheese and?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
You don't need crackers or vegetables.
Sometimes the whole block of cheese, I don't even cut it. I'll just
you just take the bite and go. Yeah, I'm a cracker guy. I need a Ritz or something. Yeah. You just straight up
go right for the cheese. Is that a red flag or a deal breaker?
That's neither. Cheese. I see ladies posting about cheese on their dating profiles all the time. Yeah. So it's pretty normal.
Deal breaker. So sorry, Jack.
It's okay.
Okay, so save me for myself. Let's move on to NHL. There's 8 games on the slate tonight. Jared, when you're looking at it in the futures market, who do you see the best value in to win their division right now in the NHL?
I didn't bet any divisions, but I did see someone ask about the Preds to win the Central. Yeah. I think that's fine. So the divisions are tough because to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know how much the teams really care about the divisions, more so than just making the playoffs. So I'm more, when I do play the NHL futures market, Stanley Cup only. The points sometimes can be an interesting one. We're on the Kraken under, which is looking great, barring some kind of absurd turnaround for Seattle. That one looks like it's going to hit. But I did add to my Florida Panthers position this morning. So I had a half unit at 10-1, and I added another half a unit. So now I've got a full unit at 10-1. And I also added to my Islanders position this morning. So I had a quarter unit on 100-1, and then I added another quarter unit on 80-1 this morning. Islanders been playing better. And again, they've got a ton of games to make up later in the year when I expect their level of play to be much higher because they're getting all their guys back from COVID. They've got a lot of home games later in the year because they started the first month or so of the season on the road. Yeah. And again, they're playing better. They've won 2 in a row. They are only, I think, 6 or 8 points out of a playoff spot right now. And if you give me 100 or 80-1 team that gets into the playoffs with a style and an experience level like the Islanders, I feel very good about my bet. So I think the Panthers and the Islanders are the two teams I'm targeting in the Eastern Conference to make a run.
Yeah.
I love this Panthers team. They played tonight against Calgary. They're the best home team in the league, so you might want to look to them perhaps tonight, although I know you're on the other side of that one. But I do think the Panthers at home is always a good bet, and I really like them in the futures market. I think they have the kind of temperament and style that can beat the Lightning, which, the back-to-back Stanley Cup champs. So it's always about unseating the champs. I think the Isles and the Panthers offense, Isles defense have the style to unseat the defending Stanley Cup champs 2 times in a row. So those are the teams I'm targeting in the futures market today.
Brent in the chat wants to know, but how about the Preds to win the Central?
Yeah, I don't have any strong opinion there, but I know the Preds have kind of struggled.
They're in the same division with teams like the Blues and the Avalanche. And yeah, the Preds right now are sitting at second in the Central. But the Avs have also been on a break longer than basically any other team. Not some of the Canadian teams, but you look at the Preds right now, played 33 games. And they're sitting at 42 points. Well, the Avs have only played 28 games, and they're only 4 points behind the Preds right now, but 5 games in hand against the Preds. So I think this is one of those things where not as much value, but I think it's one of those divisions where the Avs or the Blues probably have a little bit of a better chance to finish at the top. But the Preds could be a good value pick at 16-1 odds right now to possibly
just to win the division.
Yeah.
Or 16-1 to win the division?
To win the Central division, yeah.
They're 16-1 to win the Central, and they're 1 point back at first? Yeah, I mean, that
1 point back at first, but they also, like there's other teams that have a few games in hand. Like the Stars have only played 29 games. The Avs have only played 28 games, and the Preds have played 33.
But still 16-1.
16-1 is a good value.
Really good price.
I don't think they will win the division, but
neither do I.
It is
usually the market's priced pretty well. And especially, the division markets, a team like Nashville, I think they care more about just making the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't see a ton. Like maybe this is, again, I more stick to the Stanley Cup futures when I do hockey futures. Yeah. But I don't know. The division futures, to me, what's the value? You get one extra home game in the first round of the playoff. It's not like the NFL where you win the division or you win that first round bye. You don't have to play in the first round.
Yeah, a majority of them are playing. I will say having that home ice advantage does make a big difference.
Totally agree. Nashville's got a great home ice advantage too.
Because you get to game 7, guess what? I don't think any crowd affects a game more than a hockey crowd does.
Agreed.
With the team. Just because it's like they're in an ice arena, it's cold, the sounds are reverberating off of the ice. Like it's loud. Hockey arenas get really loud. And so when you're coming down to that game 7 situation, it's important to have home ice advantage, have your home crowd behind you and backing you in a situation like that. But I look at some of the games tonight. There's 8 games on the slate. Calgary Flames taking on the Florida Panthers. I actually like the Flames money line in this one. You're like, ooh, the Panthers are one of the best teams this season. This is an interconference battle on the ice in the Sunshine State. Both teams coming off of good wins. But Florida currently sitting 1 point behind the Lightning for the top spot in the division. They're second in the league in goals per game, 3.78, 17th in goals against. For this game, you're like, well, why then are you betting the Calgary Flames money line? Let me tell you why. Sam Bennett serving his first game of a 3-game suspension for an illegal check in their win over Montreal. Okay. In addition, the Panthers going to be without Reinhart, without Marchment. They were placed in protocols along with assistant coach Tuomo Ruutu. I always struggle with that name. Tuomo Ruutu on Monday. The Panthers have been dynamite at home. They're 17-3 at home. They have the second most victories in the first 20 home games of the season in league history. That's really good. Why are you betting the Flames then? Let me tell you, Calgary is one of the better teams on the road this season. They're 13-4-2 in those games. The Flames are in good health at this point in time. And I just think with the Panthers, they're missing a couple of key scoring threats. You have to fade them a bit in this spot. That's just my opinion on it. Calgary's hot goaltending, solid road play carries them to a victory here. I think it's going to be only by 1 goal, but I like the Flames money line in this one with the Panthers missing a few key players, a few key scorers, and I like the value at plus 115. You're on the other side though, right?
No, I mean, I'm not playing this game. Again, the Panthers futures market bet is, more big picture, not necessarily, for this game. Tonight won't affect that number at all. The Flames, I was looking at the Flames this morning because their numbers are really good, analytically speaking. 7th most expected goals per 60 minutes at 5-on-5 this year. They're a top 10 team scoring at even strength. So that's impressive. And I think Daryl Sutter's done a really nice job. They're more of a defensive team, I would say, under Sutter, but their top line's really good. Kachuk, Lindholm, and Johnny Hockey, which is probably one of my favorite names
baby.
in all of the NHL. So I'm actually, and I know you're going to talk about this game later, but I'll break the seal here. I really like your Avs tonight. Really good matchup against the Hawks, who have been 0-2. And outscored 11-2 since the restart. They've been really bad since the restart.
Yeah.
Rado beat the Ducks the other night. And the expected goal differential between these two teams is just
crazy.
It's massive.
That
Rado's
is
almost a
plus
+10.
Day, but we will get to it in a second. I have one more hockey bet before we get to our best bets. I'm taking it to the desert. Winnipeg Jets from Manitoba heading down to play the Arizona Coyotes. I like the Winnipeg puck line in this one at +135. You look at what the Jets have been able to do. They haven't necessarily had the best time when visiting Arizona. They've only won 5 of their last 18 trips to Phoenix. But 3 of those victories have been in the last 5 trips there. And now I think Winnipeg is enjoying a surge of really strong play away from Manitoba. How many times can I say that? I just like saying Manitoba. They're 3-0-1 in their last 4 games away from Manitoba. And the Coyotes, I mean, they're just really bad this season. They struggle on the road and they struggle at home as well. In the last 6 games at home, they're 0-6. So I'm expecting the Jets to come out on top of this one. They've already beaten the Yotes on 16 of the matches. They're 5-3-1 in their last 9 outings overall. Arizona's still at the bottom of the NHL, only 6 wins in 30 games. Not great. Horrid 0.25 points percentage and basically a -54 goal differential. Those numbers aren't great last time I saw. So I think Arizona's only won 2 of their last 13 home games this season. They're 2-10-1 at home this season. I just like Winnipeg and their firepower a little bit more. So I take them by 2 goals or more in this one. Winnipeg puck line at +135.
I don't mind it.
The Arizona Coyotes are so bad.
I think if you fade Arizona every night this year, you're probably in decent shape.
Yeah, you're going to be winning some money if you do that.
I'll finalize the NHL segment today. I'm on the Ducks tonight against the Flyers at home. So Philly, they're arguably the worst defensive team in hockey. The Ducks are an average team analytically. Nothing really to write home about. They had that really nice streak earlier in the year. They've kind of cooled off since. Philly's 1-2 since the restart. They're coming off of a bad loss to the Kings, 6-3. The Ducks haven't won since the restart, 0-3, and they've only scored 4 goals in that stretch. But they're at home. They're 10-4-4 at home this year. And again, this is a line movement play because I expected the line movement maybe to favor Philly here, but we're seeing a nice steam towards the Ducks this morning from -115 now up to -135. I played it 3-way, +110, Anaheim in regulation.
Love the 3-way money line.
Love the 3-ways, wink, wink. But also, I'm also playing Rado puck line tonight too. And I know you're going to be on that a little bit later, but it's not my favorite play of the day. But it is on the card. Rado, puck line, and Ducks 3-way money
line. By Rado, he means Colorado, my friends.
Yes.
For those who don't know what Rado is. I was like,
oh,
Rado?
You'll get accustomed. You don't like it when I say Rado? By the way, I just got some, speaking of Rado, I just got some crazy numbers that came across my desk. The fine folk, and if you are listening from the state of Colorado, I'm sure because Lauren's on the show, there might be some Colorado listeners or viewers. You bet $7 million of table tennis last month. That's insane. Colorado bettors are still hammering.
Table tennis or ping pong? Is it the same thing?
Whatever, it's the same thing. $7 million in table tennis?
Who's watching table tennis?
It's insane.
Is table tennis like a professional sport?
Yes. It was huge during the pandemic.
Well, yeah, because nothing else was on.
Exactly. But my point is, we're over a year past when sports were.
People are hooked, guys. People are
going, and they are bananas for table tennis in Colorado. They bet $7 million in November on table tennis.
This is
insane.
good to know. This has to be the people up in the mountains. You know what I mean?
It's
Like
your Rado friends. They love their table tennis. I don't know.
Well, maybe I'll
talk
check
to
out.
them.
Maybe I'll check out the table tennis and start getting into
We'll
it.
give out some table tennis bets, maybe.
Why not? I mean,
I wouldn't even know where to look.
Let's do it, Jared.
There's no line movement available for those. I'll tell you that.
Speaking of red hot bets, Pickswise 3-star play of the day. Who do we got?
Oh, hold on. Let me see. Oh, I saw, and I can't even bet this tonight, unfortunately. Our buddy Wise Guy, Matt Weisenfeld's on Seton Hall tonight, laying 3 at Butler. It's been tough. I'll be honest. I couldn't bet the Rutgers game the other day. Man, New Jersey's got to solve these stupid. It's so silly. I can't bet games in New Jersey, even though the game's being played in Indiana, in Butler, at Hinkle Fieldhouse. I still can't bet it. But Seton Hall laying 3 tonight. Wise Guy's on it.
I like it. it. Okay, our best bet today. I'll talk about Rado. I'll go first. I'll talk about Rado.
Go first. Yeah.
Okay. Rado taking on the Chicago Blackhawks. They're on the road in Chicago in the Windy City. I like the Avs puck line plus 110 in this one. It's a divisional teams that both have kind of struggled this season for different reasons. In case the Blackhawks, right? Mainly been down to a lot of off-ice distractions. The Kyle Beach scandal led to the resignation of Stan Bowman, the eventual firing of Jeremy Colleton. For Colorado, they've battled through a slew of COVID-19 issues, despite their really strong play this season. It took out basically all of their stars at one point or another. Their first game back was Sunday, but before that, they hadn't played since like the 16th of December. They were down 2 goals in their first game back from that COVID pause. They were able to come back, win 4-2. It was a fun game to watch. Colorado's already beat Chicago earlier in the season. The Avs are first in the league in goals per game at 4.2 goals per game, 23rd in goals against, 3.32. They're allowing per game. Darcy Kemper expected to start this game. Chicago just under them in goals allowed per game, 24th with 3.38. So when you put one of the top ranked scoring teams in the league against basically a 30th ranked scoring team in the league, and also Chicago with the 24th in the league goals against average, you have to think that the Avs are going to come out on top of this one handily. So I like the Avs puck line. I like the value at plus 110 in Chicago. The Avs are going to roll against the Blackhawks in this one.
I love it. I'm on Rado as well tonight too on the puck line. Got it at the same price you did. Also,
I got my little Avs behind me, rooting them on.
Let's go Rado. Also, if you want to have a little more fun with the ice picks tonight, you take Rado money line, you pair it with Ducks money line. You got yourself a little Jabbar lay.
I do like that. I actually might do that tonight.
Yeah, it's like plus 150. I'd put a little sprinkle on that. Before I get to my play of the day, another fun thing just came across my Twitter timeline. January 4th, today, 2006, the best college football game, in my opinion, of all time, the Rose Bowl, BCS National Championship between USC and Texas.
Yep.
An incredible game. Vince Young scores touchdown on the final play of the game to win the national championship. Keith Jackson, I think it was his last Rose Bowl on the call. Wow. Just an iconic voice. Go watch that highlight today if you get a chance. I'm sure it'll be all over social media. All right, my play of the day. Marquette at home against Providence. We talked about this with Jim Root. This is Stinky Line 101. Marquette has lost 4 in a row. They're 0-3 in the Big East. They're facing Providence, who is like the best team in the conference, 13-1, unbelievable start, winning games left and right, on the road, this, that, and the other. It's the Shaka Smart at home underdog value theory. And this line now, you can't get it as an underdog anymore. I actually had to lay 10 cents on the money line. Our buddy Jim Root, again, last night, got it at +2. It moved very quickly this morning to now -1. You can still get the money line at -110. That's where I would play it. And I think it's one of those games where it's a, what have you done for me lately kind of line movement. And it's telling you very clearly that Marquette is the sharper side tonight. I expect Marquette to bounce back and have a big, resounding Big East win, their first conference win of the year, and put Providence back in their place just a little bit. It's been a great year for the Friars. I don't think they're as good as their record indicates. I think Marquette a little undervalued in this spot. That's what the market is telling us. And I'm going with the Golden Eagles tonight at home to beat Providence.
You heard it here first. Go Rado, go Ket. Okay?
Ket.
Why not? That's
Would it be Mark? Mark?
Ket.
Ket or Mark?
You got to take the last syllable.
You got to take the last syllable. So
Last syllable
for you, would we just call you? Would start calling you Ren?
Yes.
And start calling me Red. Red and Red.
Red, yeah, Red. That works. Speaking of, quick little debate before we leave: is it read receipts or read receipts? It's 100% read receipts.
Where is this coming from?
Well, you just said red, so it kind of sparked a.
I think it's read receipts.
Okay, well, we're going to end on that. Agree to disagree because it's red.
Wait. Why is it red? Because I'm going to read it, and you're giving me a receipt that I'm reading.
Or I only read it, and that has a receipt once you read it. It's a red receipt.
Yeah.
See?
You might be right on that. It's tomato.
Tomato. We'll agree to disagree on this one. And on that stifling, exciting, red-hot debate, that's it for us. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Jared Smith, I'm Lauren Jabara. Best of luck tonight, everyone. We'll see you again tomorrow. Don't miss us too much. Let's get it. Let's bet it.